the Secure County Visitor Center, if anybody wants to come back for that. But he called us I don't know, a couple weeks ago or so, and said he had an extra day. And if we wanted him, he'd come a day early, just be here on the park. And from my response was, well, duh, yeah, we want. Anytime we have a chance to have Ed here, we want to take advantage of it and have him here. And of course, this is all part of the 150th anniversary of the park. We're trying to have more activities, more and to commemorate that anniversary, more activities and so forth. So we're very proud to have Ed here this morning. When he finishes up, I'll have a couple announcements. He'll do a couple other talks during the day if you want to try to catch all of them. But I know you're waiting for him, so without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Ed Bars.
Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy has been here longer than anybody else, 40 years. My first visit here was in January 59. There were no guns here. It was the earthworks were here, and there was a reconstructed magazine that was done under the CCC and Emergency Relief Program. Now this is a very evocative spot here. And the Union, of course, had constructed these gunboats. Now it's a rather interesting thing at this time, because when they commit them they had been under the contract, they were to be built in 65 days. The first delivery date, from the time of signing the contract till they're delivered, is supposed to be on the 10th day of October. Eads is a man of the river and a genius. He builds 4 of them at Carondelet, which is a suburb now of St. Louis, and 3 at Mound City. Only one of them is close to meeting the deadline. That is the 10th day of October. It is not launched until the 12th of October. It'll be 97 days over before the government accepts the gunboats, the 7 of them. The cost of them is $89,600 a vessel. But there's a penalty clause on it. If he doesn't complete them by the day they're to be delivered, he is going to pay a penalty clause of $200 a vessel. So since there's 7 of them, you're all better at arithmetic than I am, that's $1,400. So they're quibbling over it. The government had written 122 change orders on the vessels. They delayed their payments, so Eads is claiming, you owe me money. I don't owe you money. So when the vessels move against Fort Henry, the title is in dispute between the United States and Eads. They're officered by members of the United States Navy. They have a handful of crewmen who were transferred from the deep water Navy to the brown water Navy, but most of the rest of the crews are people that have transferred from the Army. So you have quite a situation there. Now at Fort Henry, they're going to be very, very successful. In fact, Flag Officer Foote, when he learns from General Grant, we and the gunboats and the Army are going to move together at 10 a.m. Foote says, well, you better leave earlier, because I will silence the guns and capture the fort before you get there. And Foote is as good as his word. The Army will not arrive at Fort Henry till it is surrendered to the Navy or the Army. because these gunboats belong to the Army administratively. And they do well at Fort Henry. Essex, a conversion, not one of the 7 built to the keel up, is disabled. And so the Army, so the government, the Quartermaster General, will order Eads paid in full. Luckily, the gunboats were a success at Fort Henry. If they had attacked here first, Eads would still be in a lawsuit with his heirs with the United States government. The Confederates had been working on these batteries for a long time, but their 2 most effective guns will not be mounted until after the fall of Fort Henry. That is the 10-inch Columbiad, manned by Captain Bedford's battery, and the rifled 32-pounder that fired a 63-pound projectile in the upper battery. Now the Union are going to Carondelet had not gone back to Cairo for repairs after the attack on Fort and the successful capture of Fort Henry. Carondelet remained on the Tennessee River, and when Grant is a cocky fellow, when he captures Fort Henry on the 6th, he informs Washington, I will march against Fort Henry, Fort Donelson on the 8th. But the river is rising rapidly, and if the Union had not attacked when they did, the Confederates would have probably been flooded out of Fort Henry. So it's going to be the 11th. So Grant's still pretty good as his word when he begins to move against Fort Donelson out of Fort Henry. The Confederates have decided to pour a sizable number of men into Fort Donelson. They make a bad mistake. Now, the man who should have come here, since it's going to be a major battle, should have been Albert Sidney Johnston. But they have too many generals and they do not have much ability, at least in the 2 most senior of them. John Buchanan Floyd, who was not a good governor of Virginia, and was not only one of the poorest secretaries of war we ever have, is going to be the senior man. So, the guns are in position here. The cannoneers are ex-infantrymen, companies A and B. Companies A of the 50th and 51st Tennessee Infantry, and they man the 8 32-pounders, which are in position, as you look at it, to the right of the 10-inch Columbiad. In the upper battery are 2 32-pound carronades and the rifle gun, all commanded by Captain Reuben Ross. So Carondelet is going to stand up the river because Grant's men have arrived and have begun to invest Fort Henry on the afternoon of the 12th. Now the 12th had been spring-like weather, just like today, only it is on February 12th, and it had been nice on February 11th. Most of the men, having not campaigned, have left their blankets and their coats ashore, and they do not know a cold front is coming in. In fact, by the night of the 13th, the temperature is 20 degrees above zero. So it's very cold. So on the afternoon of the both in the morning and the afternoon of the 13th, Carondelet steams up the river, rounds that bend roughly 1.25 miles in the distance. If you're a Confederate gunner, you can see the black smoke coming up from the chimneys of the 4 City Series ironclads and the 2 supporting timberclads. They brought forward a number of reinforcements who are going to be landed down at the mouth of Bear Creek. So both in the morning and the afternoon, Carondelet comes up close, wants Grant to know they're on the river. Commander Walk, a good artiste, opens fire, and the Confederates will lose 1 gun. And they will lose Major Dixon. They will hit the 3rd 32-pounder, count them, 1, 2, 3. They hit it, knock a bolt, shatter a bolt, and the end of the bolt is going to hit Captain Dixon in the head, and he'll be a KIA. He's been here a long time, and he's going to die here. Now, the next day is going to be Valentine's Day. The weather is very, very cold. Now, Grant has got Foote, and he tells Captain Foote, Flying Officer Foote, I want you to do the same thing you did at Fort Henry. I want you to take your 4 City Series ironclads, supported by the 2 timberclads, and I want you to go up and engage the Confederate water batteries at Fort Donelson. Now there's one difference. We would have to be in the days of Noah, when it rains for 40 days and 40 nights to ever get the water high enough to drive the Confederates out of these water batteries, because they're elevated and they have a plunging fire. The Confederates have also constructed about 800 yards below us, not much further downstream than where we can see that boat. Wonderful to have that boat there. They will have a barricade across the river. The Confederates are very bright because they're going to put targets on the trees. So they see a certain tree there, they know the range. So they have done some thinking about it, but there's little confidence in the Confederates that they can handle the feared and the hated ironclads. So Foote spends the morning getting ready. Now the ironclads are painted black, but at this time their pilot houses are not well protected. So they take the hammocks, which are white, and pile them up as a barricade around the pilot houses. And these are going to give the Confederates, they don't know it, an aiming point, the most vulnerable point on the ironclads that are not well protected at this time. Also, the ironclads from the wheel, the steering cables come out of the casemate and are exposed as they go across the stern of the vessel. They're exposed and they tie in to the tillers on the rudder. So that means a shell exploding above the stern of the ironclads runs a good chance of cutting the cables, the 1/4-inch cables that lead from the spindles on the wheel. And as they come out of the casing. It's going to be well covered by the press. And being Valentine's Day, they can set up headlines of throwing Valentines back and forth at each other. So the gunboats, they'll see the 4 columns of smoke coming up, and 2 behind them, and rounding that bend, that vessel is soon going to disappear on the 4 ironclads. In position closest to the right bank, going upstream, will be St. Louis. That is Foote's flagship. Foote is in the pilot house. The east ironclads at the broadest point are 51.5 feet. The river is high, but it's not Noah's Ark. On St. Louis's port side will be Louisville, commanded by Commander Dove. On his port side, left side, being the Marines, they always explain to us, Navy, being the Marines are not necessarily very smart, port and left have 4 letters in. So you have to know what port is. Then the next vessel over is Pittsburgh under Egbert Thompson, and the last one, close to the west shore, the far shore, is Carondelet under Commander Wolfe. Well, round the bend at a range of between a mile and a mile and a quarter, the gunboats open fire, firing with their 3-bow gun. Well, they have 13 guns on them. They only have 3 of each of the vessels bear on the fort. Even Bedford Forrest, the man who fears nothing, is going to be here. We have about 2 inches of snow on the ground. And Forrest will be up there watching as the gunboats close. The Confederates are going to hold their fire. They have bad luck. Their longest range gun, the rifle gun in the upper battery, is going to have, when they do open fire, it's going to have a shot fail to go off, so they are going to have to draw the shot. The Columbian is going to be temporarily out of action when it recoils too much. Now the 7 32-pounders will not open fire until the enemy reaches the barricade, and then they will open fire. And they will give the Yankees hell. We're going to soon score hits on the pilot house of St. Louis. Give Foote a wound he will eventually die of. Kill a couple of the pilots, and soon St. Louis is drifting downstream out of action. They'll then concentrate on Louisville. Louisville, they will cut the cables that link the pilot house and the spindle with the rudder arms. It drops downstream. Still, Pittsburgh and Carondelet continue closing. Even Forrest is carried away as he turns to the Reverend Daniel Kelly, a fire-eating Methodist preacher, and say, "Pray, Brother Kelly, because only God can save us now." That's how sure that they're going to fail. They will hit Pittsburgh. They'll hit Pittsburgh twice between wind and water. So all the men will have to get together and push the guns aft, so the bow will rise out of the water and she can back downstream. And soon only Carondelet is in action. She'll close somewhere between 350 and 400 yards before she drops down. One of the shells will come through the bow gun port and spin around on the deck like a wild beast, as Walk says, pursuing the various men. And she drifts down, and the hills and hollows will ring with cheers as the Confederates have turned back the feared and hated gunboats. So they drop down to Bear River Landing to make repairs, bury their dead, and that's where they will be tied up on the morning of the 15th, when we'll go into a day that's going to be looking like the Confederates are going to win at Donelson.